Hello, everyone. So I'm Jennifer O'Keefe. I am the Supplier Diversity Coordinator here with ExxonMobil Canada, located in St. John's, Newfoundland, and primarily supporting our offshore oil and gas industry through the Hibernia and Hebron projects. I've been with ExxonMobil for 19 years, and my current role is the Canada East Supply Chain Supervisor. So I'm married 16 years, and my husband also happens to work for the same company, which does make for some interesting dinner conversations. We have 3 beautiful children that keep us busy, but when we're not busy with them, we enjoy camping and hiking and just getting out and experiencing the world through travel. I'm excited to have been invited to participate in the We Connect International Women's Day initiative and look forward to some great conversations today with Kathy Jourdain.
Excellent. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you. And I'm also excited to be part of this process, this interview for the Celebration of Women event, supported by We Connect International. And I live in Bedford, Nova Scotia. I was born in Nova Scotia, raised here, have lived here all my life. Kind of like you, I'm not married to my life partner because he lives in the United States, but we've been together for almost a decade now, and we've been building this company, Worldview Intelligence, and we also have quite a lot of really interesting conversations, and particularly around Canadian and American worldviews, which are similar, but sometimes way more different than we think they are until we start to get into those conversations. So I also have 3 children, but they're all grown, and I have 3 little grandchildren now who are a big part of their lives, and they're a joy. They keep me grounded and they keep me present.
We have a lot of similarities, which is always interesting to discover. So we'll dive into some questions, Kathy. So first off, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
I find that a really fascinating question because I'm not sure I was inspired to become an entrepreneur, as it seemed like the only road available to me. My first career was in the not-for-profit sector. I was the executive director of a health charity for Atlantic Canada, and I started that at a very young age. And as I was getting close to a decade in that role, I started to ask myself, well, what do I want to do next? Because the degree of responsibility and freedom in that role is hard to replicate somewhere else. So I asked myself, well, what do I really enjoy about my role? And the first thing was, I enjoy the leadership work that I'm doing. I enjoy the team development work that I'm doing. I love the strategic planning part of it. I love being in a facilitation role. And when I put all those things together, it spelled consultant. And I kind of went, oh, I don't want to be a consultant. And now here I am 25 years later, and I just can't imagine doing anything else. And in the early days, when some days it was hard, I kept asking myself, well, what would I prefer to be doing? And there was nothing that I preferred to be doing. So then it's like, okay, you just have to make this work.
Yeah, I've talked to other women, and often the entrepreneur is the second to the first, which is usually the passion. So it's really exciting that
Right.
you can take those and combine them together. Right?
Yeah.
So what have been the biggest challenges that you faced on this entrepreneurial journey?
So I think that there's a couple of things. One is always around business development, because in the world I live and operate in, because I'm an independent consultant, and my partner and I are, we're on our own. It's feast or famine. So you're either like in the work, doing the work, in which case the money's coming in, or because you're doing the work, you don't always have the time to do the business development. So I would say that that's one of the challenges. And the other challenge is really believing in what you do, and really believing that what you offer is of value to people. So even when you get feedback regularly that what you're doing is really good work, sometimes it causes this, you need to really believe in yourself as well.
Yes, it must really challenge your thought process and how you move forward. You don't have the whole team of supporters to tap into all of the time. So
Right.
that would be definitely challenging. So how has being part of We Connect International, that network, help with your business?
So I found out about We Connect International through Nova Scotia Business Inc. And we were looking to them for some support. And I got moved in this direction towards We Connect. And the minute that I heard about it, I could see the possibilities. First of all, women supporting women, women lifting other women up. But I think what was most intriguing to me was this notion of, first of all, being a woman and being classified as a diversified supplier. And the idea that We Connect can open doors and have conversations actually like the one that you and I are having,
Mhm.
which are conversations that wouldn't be available to me through any other route of networking or business development. And so seeing that possibility, I actually believe that that is part of the next phase of our growth for Worldview Intelligence.
Mm. I think a lot of it is just about that connection, right? Just like it says, and especially the women lifting other women and providing that community, troubleshooting, and just having great conversations with each other. So it's a real positive environment to be part of too.
Yeah. Well, and like the company that you work for and the roles that you're in, which are non-traditional roles for women,
Mhm.
um, we have so many skills that are not valued as highly as they could be in some places. And in the work that I do around worldviews and worldview intelligence, one of the things that we say is that you know, everyone has a worldview. We're not born with one, but the worldviews are the lenses through which we see and experience the world. And some of the influences on our worldviews is our gender. And
Mhm.
we'll talk about the fact that as women, we can be in a meeting and put forth an idea and it doesn't get picked up. No one really hears it. But a man in that same meeting later on could put forth the same idea and
Mhm.
then it gets picked up. And just like you're nodding right now, we see that around the tables and in the rooms that we work with. People go, "Oh yeah, that's right." And so to be part of an organization um, where, like I said already, we lift each other up and support each other in whatever roles, it's important, and it's been part of my philosophy and my belief from the time I was quite young.
I think it's about validation too,
Mhm.
validation that your
Mhm.
thoughts and ideas and what you're doing is as important as, your male or your, counterparts. And
Yeah.
that's why I think it's interesting when you have a significant other that works in the same industry. So you can really, it really almost brings a larger lens to that gap a bit sometimes
Mhm.
as well, which I always found kind of interesting. The interpretation is very different, exactly like you said, based on our worldviews, and
Yeah, I love that.
gender has to play a part in that, so well, we would be in the same meeting sometimes and I would interpret something completely different than he would, and it's really, just my lived experiences compared to his. So it's
Yeah.
it's always interesting conversation.
Yeah, and it is like we hear things differently, and so then we
Mhm.
respond differently. So Jerry and I can be in the same meeting and hear a question, and he'll respond in one way, and I'll respond in a very different way, and neither one is wrong.
No,
But messages get through in different ways depending on who's speaking and what they're saying and how they're interpreting what they're hearing.
that partnership for you must provide a really nice collaborative sort of more creativity in a business as well, because it does give you that the other's point of view and vice versa too, I would think.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, I mentioned already we've been together for about a decade, and we learned early on the conversations where it felt like we were just butting heads, and the ones that were generative. And sometimes all it took was what's the orientation that we're bringing to that conversation. So now we kind of go, okay, I'm just thinking out loud. And setting the context for how we want to be in an exploratory conversation.
And that must translate into how you present, these types of philosophies to your customers as well.
Yeah, it does for sure.
Mhm.
And we, when we're working together, we're always in a very generative space, and
Mhm.
it's always very supportive. And I think that's one of the reasons for me why this relationship works, because he is willing to acknowledge and honor the strength and the talents that I bring. And that hasn't always been the case in some of the partnerships that I've been involved with in the past. So that having the mutual support. So whether it's in an all women setting or it is
Mhm.
with our partners, becomes a really important part of how we do what we do.
Yeah, 100%. So, what advice would you give to other aspiring women entrepreneurs or women traveling down this path?
So I think you said it at the beginning of this, which is the passion.
Mhm.
So where does the passion take you, and how does it help you see the path ahead? So always stay connected to the passion. Um, have good mentors
Mm,
and role models who can help you through some of the challenging times, and I think really focus on the business model as well, because the passion will only take you so far. And if
mm,
you're not building your business model as you go, that's going to end up being problematic at some point down the road.
mm. Yeah, that's a really good point because you get wrapped up into what your goal is and forget how to get there sometimes too. And then when it fails, you feel like you didn't have the right idea, but it's not necessarily your ideas, it's more your strategy. So
Yeah.
I've said that to my daughters, go and study whatever you want at school, but take a business minor. Go
I
be
think
passionate about whatever you want and take a business
that's
minor.
well, and I think, there's an interesting discernment between, am I on the right path, and is it just about to open up for me, or am I on the wrong path? And I think sometimes when we're in my world, in the famine days, it can cause those questions to come up. And
Mhm,
so that's where the mentors and
mhm.
other people who can be supportive of you can help you see the light of day in
And I
all
think
of
that, yeah, and that's where a community like We Connect would come in and help you kind of troubleshoot where are my roadblocks too, which I think
that.
is key. So,
Well,
mm,
and I think as you say that, that's another real benefit of We Connect, is that it is building up the resources to help women be successful in their
mhm,
businesses,
mhm.
and pointing them in the right direction, as you said, and we all need that.
Yep, 100%. That's all I have for questions. I think that it's been really nice getting to know sort of more about your consultancy group and what you're doing, what you're passionate about, Kathy. And it's really encouraging to see women in these spaces that were traditionally, male-dominated spaces. We talk about, the engineering and the STEM areas that are male-dominated, but consultancy, entrepreneurship are still very male-dominated spaces too. So thank you for being a trailblazer for for lots of women. I hope that will come after you too and enjoy, that success too.
Well, thank you, and thanks to We Connect for connecting the two of us.